What's up, kings? What's up, queens? I recently listened to this podcast clip involving Joe Rogan and the comedian Andrew Schulz, and they were talking about this phenomenon called post-nut clarity. Every guy is aware of what this is. It's that moment after orgasm with a woman where you realize that you were never attracted to her in the first place. You were simply compelled by your sheer desire to say whatever you needed to say, to think whatever you needed to think, to be in her pleasurable company. And it's only after the fact, after the fat lady has sung, that you realize that it wasn't you coming up with those words. It wasn't even you who was truly feeling those emotions necessarily. It was this energy within you that was compelling you with the right words, the right actions to get you in that scenario. And while Schultz and Rogan were talking about this in a negative way, there is a component to this that also alludes to an incredibly potent, powerful aspect to this energy. Joe Rogan talked about being driven by his dick as if he's a person who's sitting at the back of a bus and someone else is at the driver's seat saying, "It's fine, everything's gonna be okay." And then after he ejaculates, he realizes that he is at the driver's seat. But the thing is, in modern society, there's so many forces, there's so many elements, there's so many sources of cheap delirium available to us that the modern man is completely depleted of any energy at all. Everyone is walking around without desire, and it feels terrible. It causes a tremendous malaise. We were meant to wrestle with our desires and harness them and channel them in appropriate directions, because being in that state of desire while managing it feels awesome. It feels fucking great. The text that I want to read from and reference from for today's video is the Kybalion. It was recommended to me by a number of my viewers over the last several months. And when I first started reading it, I thought it would simply be a book about the law of attraction coming from that Egyptian, Middle Eastern perspective. That's where the roots of the Kybalion come from. But as I started reading, I realized these principles, the Hermetic Principles, are actually about sexual transmutation and how the law of attraction, our connection to the ether, is actually completely related to our sexual energy. Gender is manifested in everything, the masculine and feminine principles ever at work. This is true not only of the physical plane, but of the mental and even the spiritual planes. On the physical plane, the principle manifests as sex. On the higher planes, it takes higher forms, but the principle is ever the same. No creation, physical and mental, is possible without this principle. The Hermetic philosophy has ever sounded the warning note against these degraded teachings which tend towards lust, licentiousness, and perversion of nature's principles. Mind may be transmuted from state to state, degree to degree, condition to condition, pole to pole, vibration to vibration. True Hermetic transmutation is a mental art. What I specifically liked about this text is how it relates the physical plane, the mental plane, and the process of creation itself. On the physical plane, what is the most primal, basic source of creation? Creating a baby. Making a child in some ways completely contradicts the second law of thermodynamics. That law says that everything moves towards disorder and chaos unless you actively put energy into creating order in a situation. The creation of a child, the creation of a zygote that turns into a baby, is an act of incredible order. Cells dividing and growing in an incredibly organized way to create bodies, an amazingly powerful brain, an organism capable of generating immense potential. The fact that the making of a baby is an act of incredible order signifies that there must be a tremendous energy input that must have gone into that process. It should not be that far of a stretch to say then that this energy, which can create order in the physical universe in the form of a child, can also be used for mental creation, for creation outwards into the world of perhaps your artistry, your entrepreneurial spirit, whatever it might be. This energy can also aid in the creation process in that regard when reharnessed and redirected along the proper lines. The principle of gender is manifested on all planes of life, material, mental, and spiritual. Sex is merely a material manifestation of gender. Gender means relating to generation or creation, and wherever anything is generated or created on any plane, the principle of gender must be manifested. And this is true even in the creation of the universe. The truly wise, knowing the nature of the universe, use law against laws, the higher against the lower, and by the art of alchemy, transmute that which is undesirable into that which is worthy and thus triumph. Transmutation is the weapon of the master. Every thought, emotion, or mental state has its corresponding rate and mode of vibration, and by an effort of the will of the person or of the persons, these mental states may be reproduced, just as a musical tone may be reproduced in an instrument. I've always believed in the law of attraction. Ever since I first learned about it, it just rung true for me. I just felt it to be like a truth of the universe. But one thing that I always neglected or had never really heard anyone else directly address was that it takes energy to bring yourself up to a high rate of thought. You can will yourself to do this. Sometimes listening to great music can just raise you up to a high vibration of thought. In fact, the work of any true artist is to change your internal environment and to make you feel something, experience something that you hadn't experienced in the moment before witnessing that artistry. But it takes energy to raise yourself to a high vibration of thought, especially if your direct environment has a lot of negativity in it. The cultivation of life force energy, the cultivation of your sexual energy is like a supercut. It's like a hack to getting to that super driven state. And if you're healthy, you feel this within a week. You just feel charged up. It feels amazing. I mean, it can certainly cause tumultuousness if one were to not meditate enough, but it just gives you a really driven internal environment, and it can help you get those thoughts, ideas, insights by which you can act upon. And as I've perceived it, it can also bring about effortless manifestations so much faster just by the proper conducting of this energy. This last paragraph that I'm going to mention from the Kybalion sounds almost identical to Napoleon Hill's chapter on the mystery of sex transmutation in Think and Grow Rich. Here's what he says. The manifestation of mental gender may be noticed all around us in everyday life. The magnetic persons are those who are able to use the masculine principle in the way of impressing their ideas upon others. The actor who makes people weep or cry as he wills is employing this principle, and so is the successful orator, statesman, preacher, writer, or other people who are before the public attention. The peculiar influence exerted by some people over others is due to the manifestation of mental gender, along the vibrational lines above indicated. In this principle lies the secret of personal magnetism. Napoleon Hill almost said this word for word. Personal influence, fascination, etc., as well as the phenomena generally grouped under the name of hypnotism. The most powerful examples of this principle, people who were able to generate fascination and sheer attention from the world just by their presence, were the great sages and the great prophets. Jesus Christ was one of them, but so were the Hindu sages such as Swami Vivekanand. They had this intrinsic understanding that our bodies are a source of energy. Our bodies, our physiology creates energy, and this energy is actually connected to an ether in the universe. And when redirected along proper lines, it can definitely help you manifest the things that are within you. And to close this video, I'm going to leave you with a line from one of the great sages, Swami Vivekanand. All the forces that are working in the body in their highest become ojas. You must remember that it is only a question of transformation. The same force which is working outside as electricity or magnetism will become charged into inner force. The same forces that are working as muscular energy will be changed into ojas. A great turning point for every artist or entrepreneur is the understanding that bringing about the things that you want to do starts from a place of discipline, sacrifice, what the Hindus would call tapasya. And when you can start doing this, when you can start applying this discipline in your life, everything just starts to happen. I didn't go into this book thinking I would talk about the mystery of sex transmutation. I thought it would just be about the law of attraction exclusively. It would be about how the mental world creates your reality, how thoughts affect the creation of things. But ultimately, all truths are connected, whether it is from the Egyptian tradition or the Vedic tradition. It's in the undercurrents of almost all major teachings. All people who have experiences with this truth, they all understand this mystery of sex transmutation. And whenever I spot it, like I spotted it in this book, I like to pull it out because it just feels good to know that we're all kind of grasping at the same thing. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're new here, my name is Nikhil. This channel is about combining Eastern spirituality with Western productivity, talking about principles and tactics by which the individual artist, entrepreneur can empower their work. If that appeals to you, definitely consider subscribing. I also would love it if you guys could check out this guy, Conor, from Conor's Corner. He's been making YouTube videos for a couple months now, and I don't think he realizes that I've seen any of his stuff. But Conor, I think you're off to a great start, and I'm hoping that this shout out might give you a slight bump, some slight encouragement to keep going with your channel. I think you're doing great stuff. That's it for today, guys. And for those of us who are willing to cultivate this energy within us and to draw it into our artistry, to us I say, greatness is coming. Cheers. Soona, Soona,